You ever wonder what betrayal really sounds like? For me, it was the sound of applause that wasn't mine. That night, standing in the shadows of a crowded book launch, I heard people cheer for words I had bled over, words I had lived through, words that were mine rolling off the tongue of someone who wasn't. But I'm getting ahead of myself. There was someone else in that room, smiling brighter than all the lights. Her name was Grace. You'll meet her properly in a moment. Before I go deep, if you've ever trusted the wrong person and lost something you thought no one could take away, hit subscribe right now. You're going to want to hear how this ends. Grace wasn't just my girlfriend, she was my anchor. The kind of woman who could walk into a cafe and have strangers rearrange their seats just to be closer. Charming wasn't the word, she was magnetic. I used to believe that her smile could steady me, even when my own words faltered. And words, they were all I had. I was a struggling writer. Rejected manuscripts stacked like unpaid bills on my desk. My latest novel, though, that one was different. It was raw, personal, my best work yet. It was the story I believed would finally break me free from obscurity. Grace knew every word of it. She had read my drafts, circled my typos, even stayed up late listening to me ramble about characters like they were people we both knew. I thought she was my first reader, my partner, my confidant. What I didn't know was that she was also my thief. The first sign was subtle. A friend sent me a link. You seen this? Thought it looked familiar. It was a press release announcing a debut novel from an author I barely knew, James Price. The description? It was like reading my own blood, diluted but recognizable. I dismissed it. Coincidences happen. Writers sometimes share themes. That's what I told myself. But at night, I couldn't sleep. I'd flip through my manuscript, then reread the press release, and the unease grew claws. Then James's book came out, and page after page, I found pieces of myself staring back at me. My words, my pacing, my metaphors, slightly bent out of shape, but unmistakably mine. I felt gutted. How? How could he have possibly seen it? Only one person had access. Only Grace. When I confronted her, she laughed. That laugh, light, musical, the kind that used to disarm me, now felt like glass shattering in my ears. "You're being paranoid," she said. "Ideas aren't property." But I saw it then, the flicker in her eyes, the way her hand trembled around her wine glass. She wasn't denying because it was absurd. She was denying because she was caught. I wanted to scream, to throw her out, to burn every page I'd ever written. But I didn't, because anger wasn't enough. Anger wouldn't give me back what she stole. No, I needed something stronger. I needed the truth exposed. I played along. I pretended to believe her. Nights passed where I smiled, kissed her cheek, let her read over my shoulder. But inside, I was rewinding every memory, every late-night conversation, every time she had asked me to email her the draft, just in case your laptop dies. She hadn't been protecting me. She had been collecting. The false victory came when James's book hit the bestseller list. Grace opened champagne, poured us glasses, and said, "See, this could be you someday." I watched the bubbles rise and pop, and I knew she was celebrating herself, not him. I nearly lost it then, nearly exposed myself too early. That was my first close call, but I bit my tongue and waited, because I had a plan. The book launch was in 2 weeks, a glittering event downtown. James would read passages, sign copies, bask in glory that should have been mine. And Grace? Oh, she had already picked out the dress she'd wear, already imagined herself on his arm. She never knew that I had friends too, friends who owed me favors, friends who worked in publishing. I managed to secure a spot on the guest list under another name. When I walked into that room, the air hummed with false praise. Chandeliers sparkled, wine glasses clinked, and James stood on stage reciting words that I had written at 2 a.m. in a crumbling apartment, clutching cold coffee for courage. Every line he read was a knife, but I let it cut because I knew what was coming. Halfway through the event, he began reading a passage from Chapter 7, my Chapter 7. And that was when I walked forward, microphone in hand. The crowd turned. Grace froze in her seat, eyes wide, smile brittle. James stammered, confused, and I spoke. "Funny thing about stories," I said. "They carry the fingerprints of the person who writes them. The cadence, the rhythm, the voice. It's impossible to fake. And when someone steals your story, they don't just take words, they take your life." I pulled out my old drafts, printed, dated, signed by my own hand. Witnesses from my writing group. Emails I had sent, some of them to Grace. Projected on the giant screen behind James, the evidence rolled like thunder. The room went silent, except for Grace's sharp inhale, like she was drowning in the very air. James's face drained of color. Grace, she didn't even try to defend herself. She looked at me, eyes desperate, lips parted as if to say my name. But I didn't give her the chance. "I trusted you," I said, my voice steady at last. But the truth doesn't stay buried, not forever. The crowd erupted, not applause this time, but whispers, gasps, the sound of reputations crumbling. That was my climax. The aftermath? James's career ended before it began. Publishers dropped him overnight. Grace vanished from my apartment, leaving behind only the faint scent of her perfume and the ghost of a laugh I would never unhear. I should have felt triumphant, and in a way I did. But victory doesn't mend what betrayal breaks. Nights are still long. Pages still stare back, daring me to believe again. Yet here's what I've learned. Losing my words to a thief didn't silence me. It forged me. Because stories, the real ones, can't be stolen. They live in the scars. They live in the voice that rises even after betrayal. And mine's louder than ever. This story may be over, but the betrayals never stop. Like this video, share it with your circle, and subscribe to Chronicles of Family Betrayal so you don't miss what's coming next. Another shocking story is just one click away below.